From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, we head to a different kind of farm.
We have 7 sizes of crickets, whatever the reptile needs.
A farm where crickets are a big cash crop. Winter meeting season comes to an end. Some farm sense on a few takeaways. And China making a big buy of U.S. ag products, but it's not what you think.
AgDay, presented by the all-new Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. As we first reported on Twitter, China is buying a vessel of U.S. sorghum. The total buy, 2.6 million bushels. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan reporting this is the first big purchase by China of U.S. sorghum since the country slapped a 25% tariff on sorghum last year. Now, she spoke with the national sorghum producers. Leaders believe this is a direct result of trade talks going on right now between the U.S. and China.
They're hungry. They have a lot of end users that really like our product, got very accustomed to our product, and are, very excited about the opportunity to come back.
The national sorghum producers also reporting a 2.2 million bushel sale to Spain. In the past, China has been the top customer of U.S. sorghum. And a developing story we're following. More U.S. soybeans may be on the way to China soon. Our industry insiders telling us China may be buying somewhere between 500,000 metric tons and 2.5 million metric tons this week. As for the latest export totals from last week, USDA is reporting net sales of 311,000 metric tons were reported, including 146,000 metric tons to China. Wheat sales totaling 621,000 metric tons, with Mexico being the top buyer. Corn had net sales of 969,000 metric tons. Mexico also the top buyer there. Trade negotiations still going with China via digital video, but our Washington insider saying there is a plan to send some U.S. negotiators to Beijing soon. It's also expected their Chinese counterparts will come to the U.S. later this month. The president still optimistic about a possible deal. Current expectations are for President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping to meet on Wednesday, March 27th. We are finally getting 2018 total beef and pork export numbers. Those numbers delayed due to the partial government shutdown. The U.S. Meat Export Federation reporting beef exports shattered the previous record, hitting a new high for volume. Exports reaching 1.35 million metric tons, up 7% from 2017 to a record $8.33 billion and averaging $323 per head. The USMEF says the numbers were fueled by demand in South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. As for pork, exports reaching 2.44 million metric tons. That's just 0.5% below that 2017 record. Pork export value was $6.39 billion, down 1%. It equates to about $51 per head. 3 government agencies have announced they will jointly oversee the production of food derived from the cells of livestock and poultry. Those agencies are the USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Food and Drug Administration. Under a formal agreement, the FDA will oversee cell collection, cell banks, and cell growth. A transition from FDA to FSIS oversight will happen during the cell harvest stage. FSIS will then oversee the production and labeling of food derived from the cells. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association saying this is what the association was asking for and what consumers deserve. USDA revising its picture about farm income for this year. According to the farm sector income forecast, net farm income expected to increase by 10%. Taking a closer look at the numbers, it forecasts net income to be $69.4 billion. That's up $6.3 billion from last year. Receipts for milk, cattle and calves, corn, and fruits and nuts are all forecast to increase this year, largely due to expected higher prices for those commodities. But the report cautions liquidity measures are weakening while farm debt-to-asset ratios continue to hold. Working capital levels are forecast to fall almost 25% this year, and farm sector debt is forecast to rise nearly 4%. We'll be watching for this later today. New USDA forecasts for world crop supplies and demand. And soybeans continuing to be the focus. In South America, the Brazilian harvest is now at the halfway point. And we'll actually be getting numbers from around the world and looking into how those numbers affect us here in the U.S. Monday on AgDay. It's been a very snowy winter in parts of the country, and it's not over yet. Meteorologist Cindy Clausen has more in today's crop comments. Cindy.
Well, Clinton, while work can be difficult while it's snowing, there is plenty more to do once it stops. That's the case for the Red River Valley and Western Railroad. Now, it owns and operates 577 miles of track, and this is how crews started their day in Verona, North Dakota, with a whole lot of shoveling. Now, they posted this photo on Twitter and then reported that with a little help, 24 hours later, the train was finally free. Oh my goodness. I wonder if you have to literally unshovel the entire train or just kind of the front part, just enough to get it moving. Interesting. Well, let's take a look at our wind speed forecast as we head through the day today. And it's really going to be the southwest that's going to be the focus of the stronger winds today, a little bit in the northeast as well. But boy, does that blossom as we get into the afternoon, especially around the Four Corners region. Clinton was telling me yesterday about how New Mexico was so windy this time of the year. You can see those winds push east as a storm system starts to move into the nation's midsection as we head into the weekend. I'll have your national forecast coming up, but for now, here are some hometown temps.
Introducing Farm Journal TV, on demand 24/7. AgDay, Machinery Pete TV. U.S. Farm Report on your phone and tablet. Download the Farm Journal TV mobile app today.
Reaction continuing to come in after the U.S. Interior announced a plan to drop protections for gray wolves across the lower 48. The American Farm Bureau Federation saying the wolves have recovered from the brink of extinction and management of the species should return to state wildlife agencies. Director of Congressional Relations Ryan Yates says many of the group's members have lost livestock to wolf kills since the population began to recover. And the National Cattlemen's Beef Association says this should be an indication the plan worked.
This is a great example of how landowners, the federal government, and wildlife managers can work together to try to make the Endangered Species Act work. It's important to make sure that the Endangered Species Act uses science, and we can show the science has really been reflected in the expansion of the wolf population to a point where they can be removed.
Woodall says he fully expects this decision to be challenged in court. Soybeans feeling some pressure on the market. We take a closer look at what's weighing things down from our new analysis lab coming up. And later, turning creepy crawlies into serious cash. We'll take you to this unusual farm in the country.
Spray for as low as $3 an acre with a new Apache sprayer. Talk to your local Apache dealer or run the numbers at apachesprayers.com/return.
Corn pushed down on Thursday despite some nice exports. Those exports in line with pre-report trade estimates. More now on the floor of the CP.
We are seeing, again, a little bit of a bloodbath as we continue to see forced liquidation in these grain markets, specifically for that corn and wheat market. Not a position that the bulls want to be in ahead of tomorrow's USDA report, which could kind of be an inflection point for the market. Wheat obviously has garnered a lot of attention. We're seeing forced liquidation and just a snowball effect as we continue to roll over very hard as the selling accelerates. Now, this is a very interesting market because we are oversold, but oversold does not mean buy. What it really means is this is not an area where there's value to sell. So we do think there is upside potential here, not only from the fundamental side, but we want to see kind of things shake out as far as the technicals go. This has been Oliver Slope with Blue Line Futures from the floor of the CME here in Chicago.
Here in the AgDay Analysis Lab, we have Craig Turner. He's a broker with Daniels Trading and also the author of Turner's Take. It's a podcast and newsletter. And Craig, we're waiting on this WASDE report to come out from USDA for March. Not a lot expected to change in that report, but start by setting a base, a floor for us on soybeans specifically.
Okay, so behind us here we have our soybean, the world ending stocks to usage ratio.
Sure.
And you can see the ending stocks and the stocks to usage ratio have been trending upward for probably about the past 4 or 5 years. So while we are bullish on a US-China deal, and we do think US stocks can come down, It's unrealistic to think beans in the teens just because the global stocks and the global stocks to usage is still too high. So as we head into the WASDE report, we are expecting larger stocks to be confirmed, larger stocks to usage around the globe, and even if when the United States-China deal is announced and ending stocks United States comes down, we're probably not going to see beans in the teens. It's going to be more of 9s, hopefully going to $10 with like planting and weather delays, as long as the world stocks are this high.
Yeah, this adds pressure to the price that we've seen already. So as we get ready to start planting, do you see a big shift in acreage away from beans, or are you forecasting that, or do you think we're going to be kind of even Steven with last year?
Back in the fall when we had a lot of conversations with farmers and everyone was throwing in the towel with soybeans. I think the $1.65 a bushel helped a little bit on the pricing pressures and kind of the psyche out there with beans. Also, corn still pencils well in a lot of places. And when you talk to farmers in Illinois and Iowa and some of the very high producing states, they pretty much stick to their rotation. You talk to farmers as they get outside that part of the belt. You do hear a little bit more about spring wheat up north, and there is, and maybe there is a little bit of switching of corn and soybeans, but they've had weather problems and we've had issues in the fall with a lot of field work. And if it stays wet and cold, I don't know, it could, the Ag Forum said, 92 million on corn and 85 on soybeans. Wouldn't be surprised if that came in a little bit on both those numbers.
Okay, well, it'll be interesting. Interesting to watch. Appreciate the perspective. Thank you so much. We'll be back with more Ag Day coming up in just a minute.
To contact Craig or listen to his podcast, go to turnerstake.com. All in a Row, a new resource for crop and farm management information, is brought to you by Farm Journal and Valent USA.
Welcome back to Ag Day here with Cindy Clausen. And Cindy, as we look at the drought monitor, what stands out to me is California. Drought nearly completely gone.
Yeah, big time. What a change we have seen. And as you were mentioning, the last time that's happened has been
2011.
2011.
Yeah.
It has been a long time since we've seen California like this. Now, unfortunately, we've had too much rain all at once, but it is nice to at least see that on the map. The area that we have seen drought expand is especially down in Texas. And that's where we've been watching over the past 4 weeks as these areas have continued to expand a little bit into northern Texas, a little bit further to the east, while we've really been seeing that improvement in much of the rest of the western United States. All right, as we head through the day today, we're going to have a couple of main areas to watch. One is going to be this system that's spreading through the Corn Belt, starting to head over towards the mid-Atlantic. Snow on the north side, we're going to see some rain and maybe a little ice in between, but then we're going to really watch the southwest as we see this storm system move into the nation's midsection, really picking up some strength. So as we put this into motion, you can see that area of rain and snow moving off into the mid-Atlantic states, but the trailing stationary front stays right on into the Tennessee Valley. Here comes that low pressure system that's going to be moving into the Plains states, and we'll have a second low pressure system that's going to be bringing some upper elevation snow, maybe even a little bit of rain to the west as well. But this is the main feature here. Watch as we start to pick up some moisture as it gets into the plains, and it really blossoms as we get into overnight Friday night into Saturday morning. So this is going to be a warmer system for a lot of the Corn Belt with more so rain. There will be the cold air on the far north side of it. Moving through the day on Saturday, boy, we're going to be looking at some potentially heavy rain and some strong winds on the back side of this low pressure system as we get into Saturday night and Sunday. Precipitation wise, not as much in the past 24 hours, but when you add in the next 24 hours, you can really pick out where that system is moving into the nation's midsection, with many areas expected to see at least an inch of rain. As far as snowfall, we've seen it mostly in those higher elevations, and we're going to be seeing that snow spread into the upper Midwest as we get into the next 24 hours. Very warm in the west, but also warmer temperatures than I've seen for a while in the north central United States, and we're seeing 60s down for lows in the overnight hours for tonight. And then tomorrow, similar temperatures. These are warmer than what we've seen in quite a while. And a quick look at the jet stream shows that we see that trough moving through this weekend. That's going to bring that stormy weather. A second trough kind of in the southwest. We'll watch that as it pushes off to the east and bring some more stormy weather to the middle part of the week as we get into the Midwest. That's your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Price, Utah, snow likely for you today with a high of 40 degrees. Crystal Falls, Michigan, mostly sunny and warmer with a high of 32 degrees. And Red Boiling Springs, Tennessee, cloudy with rain and a high of 51.
Coming up, a different kind of farming. How crickets and other creepy crawlies have become big business for one Georgia farm. That's next in the country.
AgDay, brought to you by Prosaro Fungicide from Bayer.
When you think of a cricket, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For one operation in southeast Georgia, it's a precious commodity and the namesake of their business. John Holcomb from our friends over at the Georgia Farm Monitor went to the farm and tell us what's chirping. All right, we've attended the meetings, gathered the information, and now we're ready to head back out into the field. What we've learned from a season of meetings, next in Farm Sense.
You could win a 2019 John Deere Gator. No purchase necessary. Visit ValentFullyLoaded.com for details and official rules. Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Well, we made it. We crossed the finish line, forded the river, swam the swamp, and climbed the proverbial Mount Everest of every farmer's frigid schedule. It is, for the most part, the end of winter meeting season. Yes, from Florida to Washington, California to D.C., every year farmers use December to early March for fact-finding, information gathering, and networking ahead of another stressful growing season. While the crops are out, the pint-sized Danishes and rubber chicken are in. Now, I think our office has been running non-stop from one meeting to another for weeks now, 12 to be exact, not counting Christmas and New Year, but then again, who's counting? While many of you probably hit one or two, we hit them all. So here's what I've learned this year attending so many farm meetings and different shows. One, uncertainty is certain, be it trade or weather. We keep waiting for answers to a moving target. Two, farmers are either cautiously optimistic or grumpily pessimistic. The in-betweeners are hard to find this year. Technology is coming fast, but it takes money to implement. 4, diversify, find a niche, or sign a contract if you're hoping to add value. And 5, wild, crazy predictions for price, weather, or policy are so passé in 2019. One thing I think we do know for certain, this year will have its fair share of challenges. It's going to take good management, weather won't be perfect, prices won't be high enough, and there will be stress. But then again, we're farmers. We're ranchers, growers, and livestock producers. You wouldn't saddle up for another ride if it wasn't in your blood. So as winter meeting season tops the horizon, remember, spring is a time of new beginnings. Put the free stocking hats, coffee mugs, and half-zip pullovers in the closet. It's time to get to work. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Spend part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.